welcome to That Wrestling Show, the podcast where all pro wrestling matters. And this is a weird week because there's really not much to talk about. But I did have someone that wanted to come over, say hi to everyone, give an update on how he's doing. So let's welcome back. Of course, this is more than 6 feet away. Fro!
Pew 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 pew. Hey, Tessa Blanchard is in the WWE game.
Yeah, I heard about that.
People are not very happy about that.
I read or I heard that like the photographer that took the picture is going to sue the WWE.
I mean, have you seen the comparisons? It's like it looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like it's not even a joke. It's like exactly the same.
It is.
Yeah. I've been sickly.
Yeah. You've been out for the last couple of weeks. You're still on the injured reserve, I guess would be the right term here.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, yesterday I got the results, and now they're planning an operation, and yeah, no, it's just I got the Brock Lesnar syndrome. That's what we call it.
Yeah.
Tell the audience.
Those that don't know.
Yeah, that's the Brock Lesnar syndrome. So yeah, I have a little it's not a cancer, so thank God it's not cancer.
And thank God it's not COVID-19.
Right. So yeah, no, it's just like I hate being sick. I hate having stomach pain. I hate being in pain in general. I feel very unconcentrated, and yeah, to be honest, I have watched approximately 0 hours with wrestling.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, I will take a little short leap of absence as things are right now, but I will be back.
Yes.
I'll be back.
He will be back. And I'm not going to rush him, folks, so he can take as long as he wants. So
I take as long as I want.
I know. But I just want to say, it's just good that number one, it's not the worst possible thing in the world, and you sound like yourself. That's the important thing. Is you sound like yourself.
I talked to Luke about this because, of course, I have a podcast with him as well. It's like it's like. Right now, I just have to concentrate on, like, I let the other people stare more than I do.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't want to be there. I just don't feel like I'm contributing as much as I can, because I don't feel like I am myself. There are good days and bad days, and
exactly.
Last week was hoo-ha.
Yeah.
Was very bad. This week has been thankfully better. But yeah, no, I wanted to talk a little about the game because I played it. I have a friend of mine that very, very nicely gave me the game. So I wanted to talk a little about WWE Battleground.
You want to know something? I completely forgot that the game came out until today.
Really?
I completely forgot about it.
Huh.
And I don't know why. I guess I've just been, busy with being back to work. And, I mean, I'm still, I'm working from home, but still just, I completely forgot the game was coming out and they've been doing commercials for weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is the successor to what was the one they made some years ago with the other cartoonish character?
All-Stars?
All-Stars, yeah. This very feels like All-Stars. I think it's very like, from what I played of it, I played approximately maybe 7 hours.
Wow.
It's very I think it's very fun,
Mm-hmm.
and I do think it's very like low threshold if you're not used to like wrestling games in general. There are some modes I don't like, especially um, I think the Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
When it gets too many people into the ring, it gets a little too glitchy.
Okay.
That I have seen a little. The other negative is definitely um, not Money in the Bank. What is the fence called? Not Elimination Chamber, but the one with the
Oh, the Thunderdome?
steel. No, the steel cage. Steel cage. So it's not a normal steel cage match. You
Oh, Hell in a
also have
Cell.
to pull. Yeah, Hell in a Cell. It's not a normal Hell in a Cell. You also have to collect money. Something that's kind of like weird, and it's also electrified. I like the electrifying thing,
Ooh.
but that you kind of have to collect money to escape the cave was kind of like weird. Other than that, I really, really, really like this game.
Hmm.
It has a repetition to it that I like. I really like to feed some of my wrestlers to an alligator outside of the ring. That was very fun.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, it is a very cartoonish game. I don't think if you're not going to like this if you're looking for realism. If you want a real wrestling game, you're going to hate this.
Right.
But the fun factor is definitely there, and yeah, I think it's one of their better games, much better than last year's.
Right. You know what? While I have you here, and I just remembered this, because I know that you gotta, get back and rest up. Um, I want your thoughts on the trailer for the upcoming South Park special that's gonna air in 2 weeks.
Why haven't I heard about
Oh
that?
my gosh! Okay, so I'll send you the link when we're done with this segment. But it
Do it
is
now so we can watch it
all
together.
right. Yeah, we'll do it now. Okay, I don't wanna spoil what it is, but let me. Okay, how can I say this? You know how the word epic gets used a lot, and sometimes it gets overused.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this time it is not overused.
Okay.
It is epic.
I really want to say this now.
We're gonna do it now.
Okay. Are you ready?
Let me just turn my volume off so people can hear it. Yep, I am at 0, so I am ready whenever.
Pandemic special. Oh my gosh.
You ready?
In 3, 2, 1, play. One hour.
1 hour.
Oh my god. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Can't wait.
Now,
We're definitely going to cover that.
oh yeah, we are. We're definitely gonna do it on the Sharks Pond podcast. Which actually, I know we do the plugs at the end, but I'm just gonna plug it right now. New episode up this week. Cartoon Wars Part 1 this week.
Yeah, I still find it very sad that is impossible to find on the official site.
I had to watch it off of Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
Because they
it's
still
so
have
sad.
Because at first, I bought the DVD, and then
Mm,
something happened, and I just got a refund of my order. So I was like,
right.
screw it. Whenever I get the chance, that's what I'm gonna get into watching it. So I had a chance last week, and you guys will hear my thoughts on it. So the one thing that really popped out of me, or out from watching this,
Mm,
and I think it's going to matter to me more than it is to you because where we live, is what time it airs.
mm.
It's airing at 8 p.m., not 10. Because
Wow.
like all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
time, it's 10 p.m., 10 p.m., 10 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
This is airing at 8 p.m. on September
What
3rd.
do you take? What do you take out of that? Do you think it's going to be more PG?
No,
No.
I don't think so.
Mm.
We'll have to wait and see, I
It's
guess.
it's cable, right?
It is cable.
Yeah, so they don't really have to think about FCC
Yeah.
rules and things like that.
So I think in my mind, what I'm going to do that night is I'm going to
Mm.
have The Masked Singer recorded. I'll watch South Park, and then during the commercials, I'll watch AEW. So,
Mm.
like, I'll have like 8 to 9 basically set in my mind.
By the way, AEW with a pay-per-view nobody heard about. Why? Why? It's so weird. It came like I know this is 2 week old news, but like it came out of nowhere and nobody was interested in this.
I know.
How sad is that?
And it was a pretty decent show for the most part.
Okay, I didn't see it because not that I was sick at that point, but didn't know it was a pay-per-view.
Right.
They have been so very bad at promoting it. I don't know why.
Guess you can't always win,
No. Any other news before I go?
Nope. Thank you for stopping by.
Oh yeah, the game I gave 7.5 out of 10.
Oh, that's a good rating.
Yeah,
that's a good rating.
I like it. If you like cartoon wrestling, I think you should get it.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Fro. Well, thank you for hopping on. Good luck with the surgery. Rest up.
Thank you.
And our listeners will be here waiting for your inevitable return.
And who was number one on the list?
I will get to that in a moment. I'll send it to you on Skype. So.
Okay. Bye.
All right. So before I get into the PWI rankings, I do want to talk about real quick the parking lot brawl that took place on Dynamite this week. Man, that was such a fun match. Santana Ortiz and the Best Friends. That was just so much fun to watch. A really good match, and it just looked very well produced, very well done. Tony Khan said on Twitter that it was all done in one take. There was no cuts. They didn't have to re-edit anything. Everything was done on the first take, which I find amazing. But it's really cool that kind of thing happened. So that was really cool. Raw, I'll tell you, and I was thinking about this earlier, because I'm not really sure if he's on the PWI 500. I'm going to say he's not, but if he is, he's not in the top 100. MVP would get my vote for the comeback of the year. He really would. I know it's probably going to go to Edge, but MVP, my God, he has been so good. And, now with the Hurt Business and then they get involved with Retribution at the end of Raw this week. And it's like, okay, now you've breathed some new life into this Retribution angle, which for the most part really wasn't doing anything for anybody. So yeah, that's been really fun to watch. Impact, I'll tell you, Impact was really good this week. With their show, you know, they just had really solid matches, good segments, and they have the main event for Bound for Glory announced. Eric Young to defend the Impact Wrestling World title against Rich Swann, which is so bizarre because it's going to be such a different contrast to the main event of last year's Bound for Glory, which, if you remember, I'm sure I don't know if people do remember it or not. I'm sure there are people that do remember it. Last year's main event for Bound for Glory was Sami Callihan and Brian Cage. God, what a difference a year has made for Impact Wrestling. Not saying that neither Brian nor Sami deserved to be in the main event. They absolutely did, but it's two complete different styles of wrestling from last year to this year's main event. That's going to be very interesting. And I'll tell you what, I don't really say this often, but I'm very interested in the two weddings that we have coming up. Johnny Bravo and Rosemary's wedding. I'm absolutely thrilled about this wedding. I am looking forward to that fun mess of a wedding. That's going to be tremendous to watch. And then with Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford, I wonder with that wedding if that's going to be, because they are engaged in real life. I did mention that last week. I wonder if it's going to be like the Uncle Elmer wedding from Saturday night's main event 35 years ago, where that was 100% a legitimate wedding, or if it's going to be like every other wedding that's ever been in professional wrestling, where it's all basically for show, but in reality, we do know that they're going to get married. So it's going to be pretty fun to see. And then I got to mention one more thing. I'm going to stick with the TV. Ring of Honor. I got a chance to watch over the weekend the first new episode they've done. It is so different. It is so different, but in all the right reasons. I mean, it was a 2-match show. Jay Lethal and Dolan Castle, Jonathan Gresham, Wheeler Yuta. This was the beginning of the Pure Wrestling title tournament. So it's basically empty arena. They've done the bubble, and it was just fun to watch the show. It was so different from, like the Ring of Honor Wrestling Weekly show that you'd see a lot in the past. It was like they put time into the characters. Like for Lethal and Castle and Gresham, it was basically them reintroducing themselves for those who maybe forgot about them or hadn't seen them in a long time and were wondering, I wonder what this person's doing, And with Wheeler Yuta, they did the same thing. They gave him the opportunity to talk and do, a bio on him. I will tell you this. If you're going to watch that show from last week, which I do recommend everyone do, watch the Gresham Yuta match. It is so good. I was amazed. I am now rooting for Wheeler Yuta to get a spot in Ring of Honor because I think he would be very, very good, a very good addition to the Ring of Honor roster. So I think that would be really, really cool. This coming weekend, they are going to have David Finlay against Rocky Romero, and they're going to have Matt Sydal against Delirious. Those are going to be the matches this coming week on Ring of Honor Wrestling, and I will have to remember to set my DVR to record that episode this weekend, because, I mean, after the first episode, I'm really looking forward to seeing not only this next episode, but to see how the rest of the Pure Wrestling title tournament goes. Okay, so this is usually the time of year where Fro and I, we go through the entire PWI 500 list. However, because, as you heard earlier, Fro has diverticulitis, I'm not going to push him to do this list of 500 wrestlers for 2 consecutive weeks. My God, I mean, that would be insane. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the top 100, and I'm also going to tell you guys who number 500 is. Basically, who is Mr. Irrelevant of the PWI 500. Of course, there's 2 obvious notes here. Number 1, Jushin Thunder Liger, not on the list. The first time ever he is not on the list. As we all know, he retired. He had basically been on this list every single year since its inception in 1991. So he went 29 years being on this list. Actually, I think, yeah, in the magazine, the editor mentions his highest ranking was number 8 in 2000. That was his highest ranking. His lowest ranking, if you're curious, 357. So he never did that bad. Then the other thing that is a notice is there are women on this list this year. And that was going to be the game that I was going to do with Fro, was how many women do you think ended up making the PWI 500? I did not do the count. I probably will do the count over the weekend and tell you guys next week, if I remember, how many women made the PWI 500. So, with that said, let's go through this list, and I'm going to start off with number 500, Mr. Irrelevant, I guess you can call him, and that is Dan the Dad. Dan the Dad is number 500 on PWI's list of the 500 best wrestlers, so congratulations to Dan the Dad, who made the top 500. He is number 500. How about that? Okay, so now we're going to get to the top 100. Starting at number 100, John Morrison. Okay. 99, Leo Rush. I don't think I would have put him on there. I don't think he would have been the top 100. He would have been one of those that would have just missed the top 100. Actually, let me go back real quick. I'll tell you guys 110 to 111, or 110 to 101, just to get the curiosity out of the way for those that are curious. 110, Alley Cat. 109, Angel Garza. 108, Damian Priest. 107, Hiroki Goto. 106, Warhorse. 105, Luchasaurus. 104, Dominik Dijakovic. 103, Myron Reed. 102, Tetsuya Endo. And 101, Big E. Those are the 10 that just missed the top 100. Number 98, Alexander Hammerstone. You know what? He's been really good. He's actually been fun to watch on Pulp Fusion on the MLW YouTube page as of late. I would recommend it. Check him out. 97, Scorpio Sky. Scorpio Sky's trying to make it on his own as a singles competitor, so I see good things for him in this next year. 96, Karrion Kross. Of course, this was before his injury. I think if he hadn't been injured, next year would have had him go higher, but I can live with him at 96. 95, Dolph Ziggler. You know. 94, Ace Austin. That's a good spot for him. I think him being at 94 is a good sign for him. He's been really a factor in Impact Wrestling as of late, so it's going to be good to see him hopefully be in the top 100 for the next several years to come. 93, Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy's really been making an impression, and as of late, he's been having some really good performances in the ring, both in tag team and in singles competitions, so, hopefully we get to see him more in the top 100. 92, Ricky Starks. I mean, he was making it in the NWA before the pandemic, and then left, went to AEW, part of Team Taz right now, so 92 is a good spot for him. I'm okay with that. 91, Humberto Carrillo. This is another one where maybe he's ranked a little too high, not because of his ability, but because of how WWE was pushing him. I don't think they ever really figured out, okay, should we have him push? Should we not? Back and forth. They never really figured it out. Number 90, Velveteen Dream. Of course, obviously this was ranked before the accusations came out, so we'll just move on. 89, Davey Boy Smith Jr. Actually, that's a good spot for him, because he was, it looked like they were setting up a feud with him and Jacob Fatu for the MLW title, so 89 is a good position for him. 88, Marty Scurll. I think the pandemic actually hurt him in the rankings here, because he was scheduled to face Nick Aldis at the Crockett Cup for the NWA World title. That match never happened. If that match had happened, and I do think Scurll would have won the title, I think he would have been higher on this list. 87, The Miz. Wow, that's too high for him, I think. At 87, good God. 86, Jay Lethal, just talked about him a little earlier. Yeah, that's a good list, or a good position. I mean, he didn't really have a year where he was going for the world title, so I guess that's a good spot for him. 85, Sonata. He's sort of the ignored one, I feel, in Los Ingobernables. I mean, he was the only one at one point that did not have a title in the group, so I guess that's a good spot for him. 84, Orange Cassidy. Had a big year this year. I think he's going to continue to have a big year. He's got a big opportunity this coming week at the TNT title with Mr. Brody Lee. 83, Tessa Blanchard. Tessa Blanchard at 83. Yeah, that's a good spot for her. I think the way she left might have hurt her positioning in there. Surprisingly, she is not the highest ranked female on this list. There is one that is higher than her. We'll have to see who it is. 82, Apollo Crews. That's a good spot for him. I think that's really good. Won the U.S. title, was actually a good U.S. champion, had a nice little run there. So, yeah, 82 is a good position. Pete Dunne at 81. Maybe could have been higher depending on how the pandemic had gone, but not really sure. 80, Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle currently on SmackDown, so he was able to go up from NXT to the main roster, so he's been able to transition really good. 79, Ray Horace. Currently a third of the six-man tag team champions. Yeah. Okay. Here is your highest ranked female on the PWI 500, if you didn't get to hear it earlier. 78, Kylie Ray at 78. Good for her. Good for her that she is ranked that high in the PWI 500. I believe that's the highest a female has ever been ranked in the PWI 500. So she should feel really good about herself. 77, Effie. I've heard of him. I haven't seen him, so I can't really comment. 76, Ryu Lee, formerly Dragon Lee. Yeah, that's a good spot for him. Currently the Ring of Honor Television Champion, so hopefully we'll get to see him back soon in the ring and have some good matches from him. 75, Nick Jackson. That's a good spot because, he and his brother have good matches, so I'm fine there. 74, Pentagon Jr. I like him. He's very good, so 74 is a good position. 73, Matt Jackson. Yeah, that's good. They're still in the top 100, so there's no complaint there. 72, Cara Noir. I've honestly never heard of him, so I may have to look him up. 71, Tomohiro Ishii. He could have a good year any year, and I would have no argument, so... 70, Jeff Cobb. Jeff Cobb had a pretty good year. Wrestled in New Japan. Wrestled on AEW Dynamite. Wrestles in Ring of Honor. All around good talent. So 70 is a good spot. 69, Otis. Currently Mr. Money in the Bank. How long he's going to have that remains to be seen. And what he does with it is going to depend on, is going to affect his rating or his ranking next year. So 69 is very generous, I think. What he does next year, it'll either help or hurt his ranking. 68, Willie Mack. Willie Mack is so good. Oh my gosh, he really is. If you haven't seen him, you need to go out of your way to see him. He is very, very good. 67, Nick Gage. Nick effing Gage, number 67. This is, I believe, his highest ranking ever in the PWI 500. He's been around for a long, long time, and obviously, he's had a troubled past, went to jail, but he paid his debt to society. He paid his debt to society, and he got himself together, so I am absolutely fine with Nick Gage. 66, Naruki Doi. My gosh, he's still going. God, I remember when he was in Ring of Honor in 2006 and 2007. Man, it doesn't seem like he's been around that long. 65, Shane Taylor. Very interesting name making the top 100. I'm okay with that. He's getting better, or he was getting better before the pandemic. Hopefully he's still that way once we get to see him in the ring. 64, James Storm, the Tennessee Cowboy. News came out earlier today that he is a free agent, so it's going to be very interesting to see where James Storm ends up next. Could he have another run at NXT? Could he go back home to Impact, or could AEW be calling his name in the very near future? 63, AJ Gray. I hate to say it, I have not seen much of his work, so I can't really put an opinion on him. I feel bad, but 63 is a very good spot. He's in the top 100. 62, Takashi Sugiura. Really one of the big stars in pro wrestling, Noah, going today. He's been there, I think, since the beginning, or close to it. So, 61, Sammy Guevara. Sammy's had a breakout year in this last period year for PWI, because he was on that first match at Dynamite, and by the end of the night he's with Jericho, and the next week, is when the Inner Circle is formed. So yeah, he's had a breakout year. 60, Drew Gulak. Very glad to see him get a high ranking, especially with some of the work he's done on SmackDown with Daniel Bryan, so good to see him there. 59, Lance Archer. Hey, could very well be the next AEW World Champion come October the 14th. Hell of a big man. Hell of a big man. Just tremendous all around. I'm glad that the fans here in the U.S. are now able to see what he is very capable of doing. So I'm very glad to see that. 58, Kenta. Currently has the next shot at the IWGP United States title. When that match will ever happen remains to be seen, but he's had a very good year, been a very good member in Bullet Club. 57, Sami Callihan, former Impact champion, currently in that feud with Rob Van Dam. I wish he wasn't, but, can't always change that, but, it is what it is. But Sammy's had a really good year. He really has. 56, Ricochet. Really, the big opportunity for him was earlier this year when he fought Brock Lesnar in Saudi Arabia for the WWE Championship. So, and he's been able to, keep his own track, keep going. So, 56 is a good spot. 55, Darby Allin. He is a breakout star. My gosh. I talked about Sammy earlier, Sammy Guevara. Darby Allin is just about the same way. He's just breaking out on his own right now. 54, Zack Sabre Jr. Excuse me. He is one of the best technical wrestlers going today. He really is one of the best technical wrestlers going. He probably should just stay in the top 100 for like the next 10 years, and I would have no complaint about that whatsoever. 53, Shingo Takagi. My gosh, he's been very, very awesome as of late. I'm looking forward to hear how he's doing in the G1 tournament. I'm going to try to catch these matches. If I don't, I'll be very interested to hear how his performances are during the tournament. 52, Rey Fenix. A little bit higher than his brother by a good margin. Rey Fenix is very, very good, a high-flying wrestler. Both could have gone as a singles. I think Pentagon might have the more mainstream, but Rey Fenix might be the all-around better wrestler of the two. 51, Brian Cage. Talked about it earlier. He was in the main event of Bound for Glory last year, won the ladder match at a Double or Nothing earlier this year, fought for the AEW title. He was sidelined with an injury for a bit, which hurts his ranking. I think he might have gotten a little bit higher had he not been on the shelf for a few months, but 51, good spot for him. 50, Ultimo Guerrero, still going at it, man. He is a living legend in Lucha Libre, and 50 is a very, very good spot for him. 49, Jonathan Gresham. If you're going to make an argument for him being the best technical wrestler in the world, you would have a very good legitimate argument, and you might win that argument. He's a hell of a wrestler. Don't let his size fool you. He can move around with the very best. He can grab an arm, he can grab a leg, and just take you down. He's that good of a wrestler. 48, Randy Orton. I'm actually not going to argue with this one because Randy, in a way, of course you guys know I'm not the biggest Randy Orton fan, but Randy, in a way, has really been one of the bright spots on Raw as, consistency goes week in and week out. Being in these storylines and the possibility of him, maybe being the next WWE champion remains to be seen. 47, Go Shiozaki held the GHC heavyweight title at one point during the year. Go Shiozaki's a guy who really has come a long way from, if you remember, when he first came over into the U.S. like 2008, and how far he's come in that time is just amazing. 46, Johnny Gargano. That's a good spot for him. I'm fine with him at 46. It's been a weird year for him, not being in the main title picture, but he's still very good. And him as a heel has proven to be very good for his career. I think we're going to see a lot more of heel Johnny Gargano, and maybe he gets back higher into the PWI 500 next year. 45, Matt Taven was Ring of Honor champion for most of 2019 before he was put on the shelf. and maybe the pandemic was a good thing for him because he's been able to heal up his ankle. So hopefully we'll get to see Matt Taven in the ring real soon. 44, Bobby Lashley. Lashley's had a good year. Him being with MVP has been a blessing for him, I think. I think that's really rejuvenated him as a whole, because before then he was in that feud with Rusev over Lana, and my God, that whole angle. So I think him, being back with, or being with MVP has really rejuvenated his career. 43, Rey Mysterio. I mean, he's he's Rey Mysterio. What else is there to say? I mean, he's in this hot feud with Seth Rollins, and his son Dominic is involved, and then, I hope to God his daughter Aaliyah is not involved in this, because if she is, and if it goes the way I think I read it, it's not going to be good. 42, Suwama. Suwama, right now, he's the main man in All Japan Pro Wrestling. I know All Japan doesn't get a lot of press, but he has been the main guy for All Japan Pro Wrestling. Set the record for the most title reigns as the Triple Crown Heavyweight Champion earlier this year with his 7th reign, which is incredible. I think the previous record was 6. I never thought 6 would be touched, but here we are with 7. So I'm good with that. Baron Corbin is at 41. I'm actually going to defend this ranking here because he's one of the most hated wrestlers right now, going today in all of professional wrestling, and he knows it. That's the thing. He knows he is hated, and he does not care if you hate him or if you like him. He's just doing his job. 40, Hiromu Takahashi. Now, this guy, an amazing story, had his neck broken, had to vacate the junior heavyweight title, took over a year to get himself back together, and made an incredible comeback. And I think he's in for the long run now. Just an amazing story. 39, Pac. Before the pandemic, I think he would have been higher on this list. He was on a roll. He was being one of the best heels in the company. And he had formed a group with Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix. And for now, I think that group has disbanded because, we haven't seen Pac since the pandemic. So, but when we do see him back, I think it's going to be good to see him. 38, Hiroshi Tanahashi. He's had an interesting year. Hasn't really been in the IWGP heavyweight title picture, but he's been in a tag team with Kota Ibushi, and he's also been on and off with Zack Sabre Jr. over the British heavyweight titles, so I can respect him at 38. 37, Kevin Owens. He's had an interesting year. It's just one of those interesting years. He's up, he's down, he's up, he's down. Can't really figure out, what's going to happen with him, so... 36, Kaito Kiyomiya. I think he is currently the GHC heavyweight... No, he was the GHC heavyweight champion. Pardon me. Young kid. He's young. Let's wait to see how he does in the upcoming years. 35, Finn Balor, currently the NXT champion, made, I think, a wise decision to go back to NXT because he really wasn't being used in WWE, and he was not being used in the proper way, so him going back to NXT was probably the best move he could have made, because look at where he is now. He is once again the NXT champion. 34, Bandito, He's actually becoming one of my favorites to watch. He's going to be competing next week at CMLL's anniversary show, so he's going to be getting some work next week. Obviously, he was on a roll before the pandemic, too. Currently a third of the Ring of Honor Trios champions, so have to see how that goes. 33, Adam Page. Adam Page, heck of a year, was AEW Tag Team Champion, held it for a long period of time before he and Omega finally lost not too long ago to FTR. So 33 is good. 32, Daniel Bryan, I can agree with that. He had a few opportunities at the Brock Lesnar Memorial Championship, and then he won the Intercontinental title and defended it for a little bit. He's been off TV, but for good reason. You know, Brie had another baby, and, you know, he wants to spend time with his family, and it's well deserved. 31, PCO, the French Frankenstein, the guy, you know, you could do anything to him, and he can't be hurt. He's a freak of nature, but he's kind of our freak of nature, folks, and it's lovely. 30, Tommaso Ciampa. He got a little, he had a little stop to him with an injury, I think, after In Your House against Karrion Kross. I'm okay-ish with 30. Let's see what happens in the next year. 29, Roderick Strong, a valuable member of Undisputed Era, so I'm sure we're going to get to see more of him in the very near future. 28, Jay White was the Intercontinental Champion, IWGP Intercontinental Champion. At one point, was a big factor into Wrestle Kingdom this year, playing a role in, could have been a double champion. It didn't end up his way, but he was a big factor. 27, Andrade. Love his work in the ring. He's so good. I'm a little surprised that he's not being pushed into the world title picture right now. It's a crime that he isn't a champion right now. He should be a champion. He's that good of a wrestler. 26, Shinsuke Nakamura. He was Intercontinental Champion for a while. Oh my god, I forgot about that. Currently a co-holder of the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, so good to see him with a belt in his hands. 25 is Walter. What else is there to say about Walter except he could kill you? He's that good, and he's that dangerous. So, yeah, Walter, 25, absolutely. He could be number one if he wanted to. 24, Kento Miyahara held the Triple Crown title for 500 days in All Japan Pro Wrestling. Haven't seen much of his stuff, but I would be very interested to see more of him. 23, Aleister Black. He's another guy who was really getting a push earlier in the year, and then it just stopped. Didn't go anywhere. And I want to see what he does as a heel. Should be interesting. 22 is MJF. I mean, he's MJF. He's that good. He just recently competed for the AEW title. Maybe he should have won the title. You know, maybe he did. He didn't, but maybe he should have won it, but he didn't. He'll be back in the picture in no time. 21, Will Ospreay graduated from junior heavyweight to heavyweight. He's going to be in the G1 Climax this year. Should be very interesting to see how he does in his second time around in the G1 tournament this coming year. But him going up into heavyweight is going to be very interesting. Number 20, Jacob Fatu, the MLW heavyweight champion, is a beast. He is just a beast, and he is so good in the ring. So good, especially for his size. 19, Braun Strowman. I mean, Braun was finally having his year. You know, beat Goldberg for the Brock Lesnar Memorial Championship at WrestleMania. Held it for about 5 months before losing it to Braun or to Bray at SummerSlam just recently. So, be interesting to see where his next chapter goes. 18, Rush, the current Ring of Honor World Champion. God, I miss him. He is good in the ring. I would like to see him back for more competition. Currently the main guy in Ring of Honor. once we get into more of these tapings, hopefully we'll get to see him back in the ring. 17, Kota Ibushi won the G1 last year, was the main event of Night 1 of Wrestle Kingdom this year. Recently held the IWGP tag titles. He's had a very solid year. Who knows? Maybe this is the start of another very good year for Kota Ibushi. Number 16, Bray Wyatt. That Fiend character has really done him wonders, and it has really helped his game. Twice held the Brock Lesnar Memorial Championship. Okay, for those that don't know what I mean, I'm referring to the Universal title. But Jim and I, my friend Jim, we have this thing where we call it the Brock Lesnar Memorial Championship because of how long he held the title combined. So, I'm not really sure how I feel about him as a face, as the Fiend. I'm not too confident about that, but could be wrong. 15, Nick Aldis, the current NWA World Heavyweight Champion. He's very talented and he's very underrated. He is under the radar. I mean, it's scary. It is just scary how under the radar he is. I could make an argument for him being in the top 10. I could. I think he's had better matches. I think he's had a better run. His body of work is second to none. And that would be my argument for him being in the top 10. 14, Roman Reigns. I'd have him maybe a little bit lower because he was out of action for a while, but not due to injury because, I mean, hell, the COVID was going around. He could have died if he had been there. So, I don't know. 13, Kenny Omega. Yeah, he had a very good year. Won the AAA Mega Championship, which is the equivalent to the heavyweight title. AEW Tag Champion. Let's see what happens to him from here on out. Number 12, Brock Lesnar. Yeah, I guess I'm okay with that. I mean, it's Brock. What else is there to say? 11, Keith Lee. He has had the biggest success, I think, in the last year. The breakout performance at Survivor Series last year is really what set him apart. What they're going to do with him from here on out is anybody's guess. Number 10, this is the top 10. Number 10, AJ Styles. You know how I said Nick Aldis could have been in the top 10? I think this is the guy I would have switched with, is AJ Styles. Not saying AJ Styles didn't have a good year. He did have a good year. But when you think about the two, I think I would take AJ out of the top 10 and put Nick in. That's how I think it would have been. Number 9, Kofi Kingston. Kofi had a hell of a year, was WWE champion for a good bit, regained the tag team titles, and just that success alone put him in the top 10. 8, Seth Rollins. Seth had a good year. Yeah, he had a good year. Held the Brock Lesnar Memorial Championship. Held the Raw Tag Team titles. Currently in a feud with Rey and Dominic Mysterio. So, yes, he deserves to be in the top 10. Number 7, Cody. Yeah, absolutely. Cody deserves to be in the top 10. The inaugural TNT champion. Held it for a few months. Had good championship matches there. So he definitely deserves to be in the top 10. Number 6, the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada. He really is one of the best wrestlers in the world today. Bar none. One of the best. And I'm looking at his last few years. He has been in the top 10 now for the 5th year in a row. And if you want to go even further, this is his 7th time in the top 10 in the last 8 years. The only year in that 8-year period just about that he was not in the top 10 was 2015, where he was number 27. That's an incredible run. That is incredible. Number 5, Tetsuya Naito. I mean, finally achieved the dream of once again being IWGP Heavyweight Champion. Held that and the Intercontinental title. Holds both of them again right now. In a very good position. I think he's going to be champ for a long, long time. I think he's going to be up in that top 10 again next year. Number 4, Drew McIntyre. Honestly, I thought he was going to be number 1 on this list, but he was not. He had an incredible year, or he has had an incredible year. Been the face of WWE during this COVID pandemic. He's done an incredible job as champion, and he will get another run. He will get another run as WWE champion again. He's been that good, that enjoyable. He will be WWE champion again once this initial reign ends, whenever that may be. Number 3, Chris Jericho. No argument there. Put AEW basically on the map. He put it on his back. They gave him the world title. He was the inaugural champion. And this is the payment that he deserves, being number 3 on this list. And it is absolutely worth it. Absolutely. Number 2, Adam Cole. Baby. Longest reigning NXT champion of all time. An incredible run. Has had great matches. Just a terrific talent. Just wonderful all around. Cannot wait to see where he goes in this next year. And number 1, I think a lot of people do know who it is, but for those who don't know, it is Jon Moxley, who has had an amazing year outside, being in AEW. He has been the main man since February. And I think now that AEW is starting to let fans come back, he's going to get that run that he should have gotten from the very, very beginning. So, congratulations to Jon Moxley being number 1 in this year's PWI Top 500. Alright, so that's going to do it for the show for this week. But, before I tell you what we got in store next week, let's get into the plugs. If you guys have any questions or comments, send an email, wrestlingman@thatwrestlingshow.com. Don't forget to follow the show on Twitter at WrestlingShow11. Follow the show on Instagram at ThatWrestlingShow. Join our Facebook group, That Wrestling Show Fan Group, where we discuss wrestling and pretty much wrestling. We are That Wrestling Show. Check out our merchandise, teespring.com/That Wrestling Store Podcast. And check out our Patreon if you like what you heard here. Be a patron. Subscribe. Donate. Patreon.com/That Wrestling Show. You're going to get some extra content that I think you really will enjoy. Speaking of enjoying, let's talk about podcasts that you guys should check out. Check out our Vantage Point, the Retro Wrestling Podcast with Joe Murata and Michael Quinn. They take you through the world of retro wrestling like no other podcast does. This week on the show, they give us their thoughts on wrestling video games. Should be an interesting topic there. Plus, week 1 of the Royal Flush of the worst factions ever, and a review of WWF Superstars from October 10th, 1992. Check it out. That is this week on our Vantage Point, the Retro Wrestling Podcast. Now, if you like your podcasts hosted by one individual, then check out Greetings from Allentown with PW Peter Winston. He watches one episode of wrestling each week in his own unique way and gives you a little quirk about it. This week, he reviews an episode of World Class Championship Wrestling from February 26th, 1983, featuring the Freebirds and the Von Erichs. That is Greetings from Allentown. Also, check out Juice Pro Wrestling, where this week they have as a guest Mecha Wolf. He discusses wrestling Jeff Hardy and Rey Mysterio, plus the differences between lucha wrestling in Mexico and Puerto Rico, and much, much more. That is Juice Pro Wrestling. Now, if you're looking for non-wrestling related podcasts, check out Unspooled with Paul and Amy. In this second season, they're going to watch 100 movies, and these 100 movies, they're really hoping will end up in outer space so those aliens out there can see our movies and they can decide for themselves if, we make really good movies here on planet Earth or not. This week, they watched the 1975 comic high school drama Cooley High. Again, never heard of it. So check it out, Unspooled with Paul and Amy. Boy, I am good at this stuff. Also check out Last Stop Penn Station with Carrie Silkin and Ian Riccaboni as we go into the life of former Ring of Honor ambassador Carrie Silkin. This week it is part 2 of Feel the Rush. He started that story on the last episode. This week he's going to talk about it again. Also check out The Castle Vault, a chronological deep dive of Disney animated films powered by Disney+. 2 men watch each and every Walt Disney animated movie that is currently on Disney+, and they watch them in order. There are some that are skipped because they're not up there for God knows what, but anyway, this week they discuss Lilo and Stitch. God, I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I should probably watch that sometime in the future. But that is The Castle Vault. And as I said earlier on the program, check out Sharks Pond, a South Park podcast. This week it is part 1 of Cartoon Wars. And that's a very interesting episode. I discuss the history of Family Guy. Plus, I talk about, why Cartman hates Family Guy. It's a very good episode. You should check it out. Sharks Pond, a South Park podcast. And if you are a fan of Coliseum Corner, because I do know there are fans of Coliseum Corner, check out Coliseum Corner. I'm putting up the old episodes. Right now, as of this recording, the latest episode that got put up is Andre the Giant. And slowly but surely, the rest of them are going to be put up. I think there's like 5 more I have to put up before I can put up the next review of Coliseum Corner. Next week on That Wrestling Show, it is going to be preview time as I will be previewing Clash of Champions Gold Rush. All the WWE championships are going to be on the line, or, allegedly they're going to be on the line. I mean, you never know. So going to make picks on that event and going to talk about the latest wrestling news. So everyone, have a good, safe weekend wherever you are. Have fun, be safe, and most importantly, please stay safe. Wear masks if you're going out. Don't be a schmuck and not wear a mask. Use your brain, be smart. Come back here next week for another episode of That Wrestling Show, the podcast where all pro wrestling matters. And as always, wrestle on.